Results for the water treatment PLC / SCADA upgrades. Phil.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. I'm here to present the results for a request for proposals to upgrade our PLC and SCADA systems at the plant. We sent out a request for proposals seeking a qualified engineering firm to prepare a programmable logic computer, which is the PLC, and supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA systems and upgrade accordingly. This was to integrate the old plant, the new plant, and basically replace some of our cards and PLCs that are no longer even available. We can't replace the equipment we have currently because they're no longer manufactured and we can't purchase them. So what we did was we actually talked to our existing SCADA support company and asked them for a proposal. It was last year, a year and a half ago, and that's how we budgeted our project around that item. And we received 6 quotes for the work, and they were from Waxfield Technologies out of Scottsdale, Arizona, in the amount of $346,950. Logical Systems LLC from Golden at $138,080. Pillar Innovations from Farmington, New Mexico, in the amount of $269,330. Quantum Integrated Solutions from Tempe, Arizona, $59,370. Browns Hill Engineering, Littleton, Colorado, at $161,500. HPI Engineering Services LLC, Houston, Texas, in the amount of $206,634.16. And as you can see from these bids, we've had some, quite a spread like we have in others. We looked at the last one was for the preliminary engineering report. And so immediately the outlier is Quantum Integrated Solutions at $59,000. And what they did not include was in updating some I/O cards throughout the plant. So we just disregarded that bid. And then based on our budget amount in our fund at $170,000, that kind of eliminated 3 of those bids right there, because we wanted to stay within our budget as much as possible. The 346 and the 269, as well as the 206, were just too much for what we want to do. And so then we looked, we really dove in deeply on the Browns Hill Engineering and the Logical Systems, LSI. So there's $23,000 difference between those 2 bids. And so what we want to look at is their capabilities, their experience, the timeliness in which they can get the project completed for us, and also the logistics of their business location. So Browns Hill Engineering, although they're from Littleton, Colorado, they do have a satellite office in Durango, Colorado, and they do currently service the systems we have to run the water plant. And just a little background on the systems itself. The PLC is actually what helps all the different components of the plant work together and talk to each other. Chemical control, filtration, pumps, motors, etc. And the SCADA system, which is the supervisory control and data acquisition, not only allows the plant operators to work remotely within the plant with the central computer, it also allows them to tie into it via smartphones, laptops, or tablets from home if they get an alarm, and they can monitor and make modifications or changes to the plant, to the treatment process from a remote location. So, having said all that, the recommendation is for Browns Hill Engineering, in spite of the fact that they're $23,500 more. One of the most important aspects other than the fact that they know our system and they're local to us, is that their time for completion is going to be late November. It'll be later than their proposal because we put this off for 2 weeks so we could actually review all 6 proposals. We were going to come to the previous council meeting, but we didn't want to rush it. We wanted to take some time in this. And LSI is actually not, their timeline goes all the way out to March of next year because I think of travel time, etc. But for us, not having that 3-month shakedown cruise from basically January, February, March, even December, when we have low flows, if we have a hiccup or an issue with this computer system and the way the plant talks to each other, we can work it out. We can go into manual mode and they can come back in if we have any issues. Where if we finish in March and all of a sudden our seasonal demand is there and we're in April and people start using outdoor watering, etc., it's mission critical that we have this thing up and running when we need it. And the next high flow period is going to be that. So, having said all that, we believe that awarding this contract to Browns Hill Engineering Controls for water treatment plant PLC and SCADA upgrades at a bid price of $161,500 is appropriate. And I'm glad to answer any questions you have.
Have you ever used this company before for any work?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, they currently work on our treatment plant now. So they have a very intimate knowledge of what's existing and also how to get all these different components to work. We have an older plant. The filtration plant was built in the 50s, and then in the early 2000s, we had the membrane filtration plant built. And so they have knowledge of all these different components, and they're going to be able to, what we're trying to do is integrate them all better and upgrade all the equipment that we can replace with stuff off the shelf.
I think having a satellite office in Durango is really beneficial to us from a cost perspective as well down the road, and the fact that they can have this turned around by November or a little later than November rather than when everyone's looking at using water, I think it makes a lot of sense too. So appreciate your diligence in looking at this.
Are there any other questions, Council?
No, you answered mine.
Would I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make the motion to enter into a professional service contract with Browns Hill Engineering and Controls for the water treatment plant, PLC, and SCADA upgrades at a bid price of $161,500.
Second.
Easy, guys.
Lucero.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Resolution 21, Series 2018, regarding Amendment 74. John?
This is coming to you as a request from Colorado Municipal League. There is some major concern about this bill. It was put together by the oil and gas industry, and the Farm Bureau is also backing it. My understanding, CML was going to talk with the Farm Bureau as to why they were actually supporting this. As you're all aware, if we take property, we're already required to pay just compensation for it. In this case, this law would be any kind of regulation you guys do, the county, the state, if you want to stretch it, school districts, anybody who does something to has any impact on the value of somebody's property, we would be required to reimburse them for that, whatever decrease they had in their property value. This could get out of hand real quick. As you guys are well aware, just 2 weeks ago, you turned down a license application. And my thought was, if this was in place, they could come back and say, well, we were going to put a building on there, now we can't, so you owe us hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a ridiculous law, and I think CML is looking for all local municipalities to get out and really tell the taxpayers what this is going to do. We're going to end up paying property owners for everything, and our hands are going to be tied so that we don't want to do anything. And I do have a request that if this passes tonight, CML has asked that we send them a copy of what we passed. So that's all I have if you have any questions.
You said the oil and gas, as well as, who was also behind it?
It was written by the oil and gas conglomerates, but also the Farm Bureau was, for some reason, behind it. And CML wasn't quite sure why.
I think on the surface, it looks like it's protecting private property rights, and I think the idea is that, you know, particularly in communities where maybe people own agricultural land, you know, the idea of having the value of that property diminished for some regulatory reason or whatever. It's just, on the surface, it looks like it's an attempt to simply protect property rights, but to me, it goes to an extreme that, and all you have to do is look at the state of Oregon to see it cost them billions of dollars before their taxpayers finally revoked the legislation there.
This is like eminent domain or condemnation or takings off, and it looks, and I'm speaking from the hip here, it looks like what they got rid of was you had to prove now, you have to prove that there was actually a taking, that you did something that diminished the value. This looks like they're bypassing that step about proving and taking and getting right to, okay, government, if you did something, anything, and it caused my property values to go down, or I can relate it to what you did. And so that's a huge, getting rid of a huge step, a burden of proof that most people have trouble meeting. Because not everything you do is a taking. And that's a key component to the existing Constitution, you know, the federal and state. So that appears to be the difference here, if I got it correct. And it is a radical change to the law from what it is now.
But Mike, wouldn't there be an issue with, like, if you're going to try to prove some sort of declination in your property value, wouldn't you, I mean, it couldn't just be arbitrary. It seems like it would be a really, really high threshold to, the way I'm reading it, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it would be a really high threshold to prove that a regulation that we pass, if, you know, somebody's property value went down over by the Maverick station, how would they?
Like I say, it seems they've simplified the proof process from what it is now to something less, and that's what the problem with this is.
Okay.
And additionally, it's an amendment. So it's much harder to revoke an amendment than it is to change other kinds of regulations.
Sounds like it could get fairly expensive on the legal end of things as well, right? Kind of backing up the courts, so to speak, and time that the city would have to spend fighting it, I think, is something else to take into consideration.
Sharks. Legal sharks, you're right.
Any other questions or comments?
Sharks.
May I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to have the mayor sign resolution number 21, series 2018, opposing amendment 74, which is an attempt to amend the Colorado Constitution to drastically limit state and local government services at a high cost to taxpayers.
I'll second.
Noyes?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Sheet?
Aye. Findings for the New View Pharma. Mike?
The ordinances require that after the hearing, the city attorney is supposed to draw up the findings for the reasons why you did whatever you did with a license application. The ordinance lists a number of things that need to be considered, and that's what the first part of the finding, or the first part of this document does. It says, well, these are the things that were considered based on the application. The second one talks about, second list of the pretty much the same things, talks about how you found or seemed to find, by my judgment and memory. And then the one seems to be the reason given as to why the motion was made. If that's not why this was done, then we need to correct these findings and make them say what you folks say your reasons were for not granting the license.
Discussion, questions?
Is this, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, in paragraph 9, at the bottom of the document, I don't think we, as a council, articulated a rationale. It was a culmination of the three things we could consider. But the only person I recall actually making a statement to the effect of the neighborhood was Mayor Sheik when she was explaining the things that we could consider. I don't think that the motion was made on the basis of the neighborhood itself.
I don't think the motion had a reason, which is why I'm back in front of you. The
Okay.
motion, I thought, was fairly just, we moved to deny the application, and there was no outward expression, and so that's why the only thing I remember hearing, and that staff all agrees on when we looked at things, was the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood and the description. There was talk of a variety of things and a variety of reasons, both with the comments from the floor amongst yourselves when you talked a little bit, but it was pretty short and sweet when you made the motion.
I would feel better if it said that we considered both the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood as well as the adult inhabitants, which is the second prong we can consider.
As well as what?
The desires of the adult inhabitants. There's three prongs that I think we could consider. The reasonable requirements of the neighborhood, the desires of the adult inhabitants of the city, and then the character of the applicant. I don't have any issue with the character of the applicant. It appears he met his requirements, but it was very clear from the rest of the discussion, if you take the discussion and all of the public comment as a whole, there was issues with the neighborhood location, there was issues with the desires of the adult inhabitants. So I would think, I mean, I think you made the motion and you didn't give a basis of why you were making a motion. It was just after all of the discussion had been done.
Yeah, I just said, given all of that.
Given all of that.
Given all of that.
Given all of that, I think is
Or given all
So
of
I'll
pretty much encompasses it.
I'll have the findings redone then, and I'll give them to the mayor to sign, reflecting those three statements.
Yeah.
And then we can send them out.
Well, as long as everyone else is okay with that.
Well, I mean, if you're going to need a motion too, I think, to some sort of voice vote that that's what you believe.
Is this unique to this industry? If we denied something similar?
We're supposed to do, and we have done findings in the past for both when you've given them and you've not given them, and it is the ordinance that we adopted about marijuana. Liquor license also have specific findings you make that we've actually got you so you incorporate them in the motion. But because there's, I think, 8, 10, 11 different things you can consider for the marijuana, some of which weren't applicable to this in the ordinance, that's why this was became a little bit more important.
So this might be something we need to table, but just a question moving forward, if we have this issue again, when we do make a vote, should we be issuing findings that are more conclusive like the way a judge would do?
Let's put it this way, staff and I have talked about how we should do this, and perhaps it should be, maybe there's me asking questions because I'm supposed to prepare these. Okay, what's your reason? What is, what are you saying? Where are you going? That might be the better way to do it. It's kind of easy when everybody always, when you vote yes, because it's just, okay, we considered all this and voted yes. It's when you vote no.
So we all need to worry about this when we vote no? Or are you
Well,
saying we need
it
to
gets
worry
done
about
on
this when we
both
vote
times,
yes?
but like I say, if they meet all the requirements and you vote yes, it's not a problem to write the findings. But if there's a reason no and yes, perhaps I should have stopped somebody and said, okay, why are you making this motion? And then we could have worked through the wording of the motion better.
Is that something that we would potentially need to change that ordinance?
It's in the ordinance
It's in there
now.
already? Okay.
You're supposed to issue written findings to the applicant within 30 days of the decision. And then the city attorney is supposed to prepare them from that list of 10, 11, 8, 9 things.
So, I know I'm kind of a little off here, but I'm trying to get it straight in my head. All of the other stores that we have in town are selling medical as well as recreational now, right?
No,
No.
there's a
We only
mix.
have two with medical.
We have straight recreational facilities open?
We have,
ones are
everybody has a retail, and 2 of them also have medical licenses.
Yeah, I thought there was more medical on
Who
there.
is only doing recreational?
Yeah, his is only
The only two that
recreational.
sell medical are Herbal Alternative and Medicine Man.
Yeah, the rest are just recreation.
The other 4 are recreation.
One of the other 4 actually said that he felt he could handle the medical through the recreational license. That the strains were what was important, and he could explain it. That's how he explained it to me one time. So they all gave, not all, but 4 of them gave up their medical licenses because there's a lot more hassle to it in the reporting. It's a more complicated procedure. They're caregivers, they got to grow and things like that, and so they changed their mind. I mean, you remember, these folks were only going for retail too. They, you know,
Even though the primary reason is medical.
My big thing still is the neighborhood.
so I guess if I can have a motion directing me what to do, the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood, the desires of the adult inhabitants, and the character of the neighborhood are the reasons for.
Are there any other questions or comments?
It seems like it was mainly the residential neighborhood that was the denial factor. It seemed like they met all the other requirements that passed into the...
I say it may have been, but that wasn't our specific
Right.
finding on the
I
record.
understand that, yeah.
And so, I guess I'll make a motion. I make a motion to amend paragraph 9 of the findings to incorporate that we considered all factors, and on the basis of consideration of all factors, we issued the denial. All factors we're allowed to consider.
Second.
Well, just a minute. Is that concise enough, Mike? Or are we going to wind up with what we already have? Do we need
So-
to stipulate the neighborhood, the wishes of the adults, the 3 factors?
I can revise.
Why didn't you do that?
Okay, I make a motion to revise paragraph 9 of the findings for New View Farmers denial of a licensure to reflect that on the basis of the 3 factors we're allowed to consider, being the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood, the desires of the adult inhabitants of the city, and the character of the applicant, on the basis of those combined findings, we issued the denial.
Okay. That'll work.
Second.
Betts,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye. All right.
Repeat that?
Yeah. John, appointment for the Region 9 Economic Development Board.
This came up because at the last meeting, Peyton wasn't able to be there. I was there, I sat at the table, I voted, and then I came back and found out I'm not an alternate. And there is no alternate, so since Peyton was already named, I just figured leave her on there. And if you could name me or somebody else as the alternate, then we will always have a vote at that table.
So your vote didn't count?
It was all unanimous anyway, so it really didn't matter.
At least they didn't kick you out.
All right, are there questions?
I make a motion to appoint the city manager as the alternate on the Region 9 Economic Development Board.
I second that.
Carlson,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Betts,
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye.
Congratulations.
All right. Yes, congratulations, John. All right, we have no draft resolutions or ordinances, no other items of business.
Hold on, we do have another item of business.
Yes, wait.
Sorry, I think I took-
Yes, we do, and I put it
think
on
we
the other piece of paper.
We do have another item of business. As you all are probably likely aware, the Public Arts Advisory Committee was formed. They have been busy little bees. And so I'll be passing this around. It's not a finished project, so if you would please make sure it gets back. But Heidi Berger has taken it upon herself to do a Murals of Cortez walking tour map and has gone around and photographed all of them. So we'll pass that down. Then also there's a letter here dated September 24th. It's from Sonia Hiroshiko in the Art Juice Studio. It says, to the City of Cortez Public Arts Committee, during my experience at Rural Philanthropy Days held in Cortez during September 2018, I strengthened my relationship with a number of other organizations and the people representing them. It was especially significant that a project at the Montezuma Food Coalition, where we are scheduled to present future exhibits and workshops, increased awareness of the arts in our community. Like food, the arts can nourish our well-being. To prepare for the tours of the Rural Philanthropy Days participants and to showcase the Food Coalition's new downtown warehouse space, organizers Lori Hall and Susan Rigg presented an art exhibit in conjunction with the opportunity to explain the mission of their partnership with 15 other local food processing and distribution groups, including CPAC. Simultaneously, I attended sessions about committee board member contribution, commitments, and the effect of our individual contributions and how they can have on other members of our community. To that end, I am donating $250 to the Cortez Public Arts Committee earmarked for the workshop stipend fund for events that the Arts Committee will present at the Montezuma Food Coalition. Pastor Jean Schwein, First United Methodist Church, home of Hope's Kitchen, was also involved in the Philanthropy Days. She attended the exhibit and is matching my contribution plus a little bit more. Her $281.50 donation is also to be applied to the future workshop stipend at the Montezuma Food Coalition project. The total amount to be deposited into our public arts fund is $531.50. Thank you for the opportunity to nourish the arts and arts education in our city through high-quality programs supported by the Cortez Public Arts Advisory Committee. Sonia Hiroshiko.
That's nice.
Very nice. I say that mural map is really cool too, if you get a chance to look at it when it will send it down. So, and Miss Linda, I'll pass that back down to you with the checks, so I'm not responsible.
The owner of Sky.
Thank you.
No, Sky Gallery is Karen Kristen, yeah. So you know the little house over by Hong Kong, that orange house that has the flowers painted all over, and then where the old gas station is around the corner? Those are Sonia's two little gallery places.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good. Okay.
and that's all.
Will we be able to see,
Yes,
can we have a copy of that when it's done?
Yes, my understanding is it's still in progress. I looked at, I noticed there's a couple of artists that they don't have the names for yet. And so I think that's probably what they're doing. I noticed Heidi and Sonia both have been pretty active on social media, posting pictures of not only the murals, but also artwork that's around in the city buildings, trying to find out who the artists are, if anyone knows anything about them. I had seen at one point, one of Jerry Coho's paintings, or pencil drawings, he made it on there, and Tara, his daughter, popped up and said, that's my dad's. And so they're doing, I'm really impressed with the Arts Commission. They've done a lot of work in a really, really short amount of time. So
It doesn't look like they have that mural that's on Garcia's.
Yeah,
it is. It's on, I think it's on the. It's somewhere on there.
Okay.
I just saw it.
Okay.
Is that the
Is
gold
that
one?
it?
It's on the
it's
front,
on
the very
Pippa's.
first one.
Okay. Oh, okay, I'm looking at it from a different perspective, so, all right, good.
Yeah, so
Good. Nice job.
that's that.
You guys have one more chance. All right, no city attorney's report, city manager's report.
I have two things to bring to council's attention. I met today with the Colorado Department of Local Affairs, also known as DOLA. As you're all aware, they are very generous in giving us grants and things, but because we have not turned in audits since 2016, we are now in default on our grants, and met with Patrick, and he said they will not be giving us any more grants until our audits are done. And I had Kathy Moss in the meeting, and she promised them that they would have both 16 and 17's audit before the end of the year, and Patrick said that would be fine. That we currently have a grant in for the E911 center for lots of dispatch equipment. And there's another issue with that one. Patrick said that unless the 911 board raises the rate from 50 cents to $1.25, which would be the state average, that the DOLA board will not be giving us that grant. So we are going to go before the board on Monday and present this, that DOLA said if they don't raise it, we won't be getting a grant for the equipment. And the chief can speak to it better than I can, but, or Councilmember Betts, but that equipment is old. They're piecing it together with cannibalizing from other parts that we've gotten. The warranties are about to run out, and it's just an old system, and we have to have communication between the first responders. And one of Patrick's question is to Lori, why wasn't this done several years ago? And he said, be prepared that the board is going to ask that, because I got grilled on it when I presented it already. So they're a little upset already that, first of all, we're waiting till now to do it, and secondly, that we're not helping ourselves, we're just asking them for help.
Who do we need to talk to then? Who's refusing to, or who is it? If it's 911 that needs to raise the rate, who do we contact to get them to do that?
That is the county commissioners, and they have a meeting on Monday. And
are you going?
I'm going. I told Lori I would like to speak to them to convey what DOLA told us, and I have a meeting with the chief in the morning to discuss it further. But, you know, this is very important for not only this community, but the whole county.
Yeah.
We have taken before them for the last probably 5 years, trying to get a raise in that, and have not been able to do so. So it's not like we haven't done our due diligence to get the fee raised, but the county commissioners act as the 911 board for Montezuma County.
What's their rationale, Roy, for not being willing to raise that fee?
They consider it a tax, and they don't want to raise taxes on anybody.
So we're being penny wise and pound foolish on this project, is that right?
Excuse me?
Penny wise and pound foolish here? We're going to eliminate ourselves from the possibility of getting a rather large grant because we refuse to have a 911 charge, and I'm assuming this would be what, 75 cents for anybody that has, is it just a landline or anybody that
Anybody that has a cell phone.
Has a phone.
Or a landline.
So if I have to pay 75 cents more, that's
it's 70 cents
tax
now, and we'd like to raise it to $1.25.
So for 75 cents, we're putting a big grant in jeopardy.
Yes.
A grant in people's lives.
Well, exactly.
It could be very much people's lives in jeopardy.
Well, good.
Any other questions on that one? Because I got one more.
Okay.
And this is one, don't shoot the messenger, it's a moving target. But we're now looking at the South Side Park. Now probable close date will be December 1st. And this is all on us. We were not able to get the survey done until the building's out of the way. The building's out of the way. I'm not sure he can still get in the construction area, but that's what I got from planning and building, that it's now off until December 1st, and we've made the school district aware of that. Again, this is not on anybody but us.
And what we've looked at doing, I had some conversations with staff about this, is if we can close earlier than December 1st, we would. In other words, usually there's or such other date by mutual agreement of the parties. So if we can get the subdivision part done, as soon as that's done and approved, we can move forward, is what Peyton and everybody has told me. So I've already been to the closer, I've been to the title insurance company, and everything is just sort of hanging out, waiting. But we think we can get it done even earlier if we get the opportunity.
How much earlier?
What'd you say, Ty?
How much earlier?
How much earlier?
As soon as we get it, we have to bring the subdivision in through council. You folks have to approve it. I think there's a notice period and maybe an advertising, I don't remember off the top of my head. We get that done, and then we get the, what do you call it, the plat signed, and then we do the deeds. One of the reasons we have to do the subdivision, there's some contention as to whether it's absolutely required or just GOCO wants it. They want to be able to track the money that we use for the park, not the other land as well. So that's why we're doing 2 closing statements at 1 closing. So there's just been these little hurdles.
Right.
Is part of the survey too, Peyton? The survey, doing the survey, is that part of it? And they couldn't do the survey until the building was down, correct? Okay, so. And if you have not been by the site, with the exception of on the east side, the red brick with the MCHS in it, the rest of the building is now down, so.
And we talked about contacting the surveyor, contacting the school, contacting everybody to just follow up on things and make sure we can get this done, sort of being a bother to people to get it done.
Okay. Well, we don't need to vote on anything, do we, John? Okay, it's just,
You know,
well, we'll cross our fingers it's done by the end of the
Mayor
year.
Sheik, hold on a sec. Back to the issue with the 911 chief and city manager. Would it help at all if city council voiced their opinion towards this? A letter of, support for the increase to give to the city or to the county commissioners? I mean, that concerns me greatly, hearing that.
I spoke with Keenan today. He's not going to be there Monday, but he's going to brief the rest of the board on what's going on. I'm sure it wouldn't hurt for you folks to support the 75 or 80 cent raise that's needed to bring that up to speed. But then again, when we do that, you're not collecting that money for some period of time. So, but it would satisfy, I think, DOLA's, what DOLA wants from us. But we are buying parts for our dispatch center off of eBay right now. It's the only place we can find, and it's end of life for some of our radio equipment.
To add to what the chief said, DOLA is well aware that if we submit or the county submits to PUC, it's going to take 6 months or so to get that done. They just want to see that we're serious about helping ourselves, not just depending on them. They said as long as that's submitted, we're good to go. If it's not submitted, their recommendation, strong recommendation, is just to withdraw the application altogether because we're not going to get it.
Do we need a vote to have you draft a letter that's signed on behalf of council stressing to the commissioners that this is a really important step they need to take?
No, if you're okay with it, I'm going to go as a representative of the city. If you're available, it would certainly help any elected officials that we can get in there, that you're also backing it. But I think this is just pointing out to them that as elected officials, their primary responsibility is the health, welfare, and the safety of the community, and they're not fulfilling their obligation by ignoring this request.
But I guess what I mean, I'm willing to go, you're gonna go, but would giving them a letter also be advisable as an additional reinforcement of how important we think this is? I mean, then we have it on paper, and we can submit it to DOLA so that they know that we've done what we can do. It's a concrete thing.
I don't know whether it'd do any good or not. And the process that we have to go through to get that raised is quite a process, and I've done it twice since I've been here, and I'm willing to do it again. I'm willing to do all the paperwork. I'm willing, because you have to visit each political entity, and they have to pass something in there for their community to say that we can do this. It then has to be presented to the cell phones and the landline people, and then it has to be presented to PUC for their approval. So it's quite a process, and I've told them every year I'm willing to do that if they will give me the permission to do so.
Well, that still doesn't answer my question.
I was going to say but I feel that if you guys show up present there, I think that should be good enough in my book, because it'll be in their minutes.
That's what I was wondering, if minutes would be taken.
That's what I was going to say, the minutes would be recorded in their minutes.
Well,
so.
you've seen the minutes, and they're not always very complete. I just want us to have as much leverage as possible. I want them to know how important this is. I mean, we can tell them, and you would think that would be enough, but...
The sheriff's going to be there, and the fire chief's going to be there, so they will be there in support of our proposition.
Good.
And that's what I explained to Dolo, that I was going to talk with the chief and see if we couldn't get what I call the three big dogs in that meeting, because the sheriff's department, the Cortez Fire, and Cortez City Police Department are the ones that really are very dependent on that system, and we're the ones. The city of Cortez already pays above and beyond to keep that system up and running, so it's not like we're not doing our part already. And so I'm going to ask the three chiefs to be in there to back this up, that we cannot continue like this with this Band-Aid system and expect this to function. If we have a major disaster, it's going to go down.
And I would be willing to make you a bet if we took a poll of the community and said, is guaranteed 911 service worth an additional 75-cent charge? What, less than $15 a year? Would you be willing to pay that? I can't imagine too many people will say, heck no. So, all right, so we're just going to go with manpower and not worry about a letter? I'm just asking what we want to do here. Do we need to make a motion or not?
No. Okay. I have full faith in the fact that we'll have all of our emergency services there, as well as you, and you, if you can make it, Mayor Sheik. I think that will speak volumes to our desires.
All right. Thanks, Roy. Okay, anything else, John?
That was it. Thank you.
Any more good news?
Yeah, any more good news? Jeez. All right, City Council Committee reports. Who's been to a meeting?
I've been to a meeting. Oh, do you guys want more?
That's
Yeah.
Golf Advisory met on September 26th. Let's see, we talked about some tournaments. There was a memorial tournament for a gentleman by the name of Jim Guest. I guess it was was it a fundraiser, Linda? And this was a recent transplant from Telluride, but had made Cortez kind of his home course for many, many years. And I guess the turnout for it was pretty amazing, like 95 players, which is a great testament to someone. If that many people turn out to honor him at a golf tournament, so that's great. The Elks Oktoberfest, I think is going to be on the 13th. And is that a 9-hole or is that an 18-hole? It's an 18-hole tournament?
What date?
The 13th of October, which is Saturday. I should just have you do the golf advisory board. Just relying on you for information. Water is a big issue. Water's been turned off. They're still able to water tees and greens, and they wanted me to make sure that to let Public Works know how much they appreciated them teeing into that water that was down on the driving range, so that they would have more potable water that they could use simply for the tees and greens. Of course, this was before that rain, so the rain, I don't know if you've driven by the golf course, but it's pretty amazing. You know, we can water all we want, but Mother Nature sure has a way of sprucing things up. Sent 2 kids to state golf tournament, Blake Keach, and I believe the other young man's name was Bruner. Is that correct? JJ Bruner, I think was his name. He's from Dolores, but he plays for our teams. I think Keach took 15th out of a huge field. Played really, really well. So congratulations to those 2 young men. Talk about memorials that people have been interested in out of the golf course and kind of looking to see what kind of direction we want to go with that. The Teacup was very successful. That was the ladies tournament. And that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I went to Mesa Verde Country board meeting. July and August was fairly quiet. Kelly was saying that she's seeing a significant increase in the number of tour guides and journalists who are requesting to be able to come here to be shown around the area, which is a plus for us in the sense that if we get some publicity out of it, that's a great thing, but there is, of course, a cost involved because usually they want to have their accommodations and their meals taken care of, so it's a trade-off. Mesa Verde Country is now participating in a program called Crowd Riff, which is anytime somebody uploads a photo at a restaurant or a family gathering or wherever they are, there is a company that you can now sign up with, and if there's a particular picture that you're interested in maybe putting on your website, why they contact these people and say, would you mind if we used your picture? And if they get permission, then what it does is it allows websites to then be able to use real people that members of a particular Facebook community might recognize and know. And since Mesa Verde Country has subscribed to this service, like, you know, so-and-so had dinner at Stonefish, or they fished on the Dolores River, or whatever, why our presence on Facebook and Instagram has increased exponentially. The fall press release got lots of hits. Farm and ranch tours for 2019 have been scheduled. They'll run from March through October, and we are looking at as many as, believe this or not, 30 tours. If they're able to get 30 farm and ranch tours, I'll be shocked. But they've had some interest in it. Kelly has decided to go ahead and work with other marketing entities in our region and work together to promote the Southwest region rather than just Mesa Verde Country. And that includes That includes us, of course, Ignacio, Pagosa Springs, Durango, Ouray, Telluride, Montrose, and involves developing itineraries that would bring people and keep them here in the area for more than just a few days. They will then be marketing this regional approach to countries like Germany, for example, where there seems to be a lot of interest. Kelly was accepted into a leadership journey program. It's quite an honor to be asked to participate, and so she's going to be involved in that. Lodger's tax was down by 85% in July. In August, it was up. It's up 14% year to date. The city's lodger's tax, it's my understanding, year to date is down 16%. And the Tri-State Firemen's Convention is supposed to be here, and I apologize, I don't have the date on that. But
Did you say it was down 85%?
16, it was down 85% for July. The lodger's tax for the county.
The fires.
So, yes, because of the fires, yeah. So, that's from Mesa Verde Country. The workshop, we had a really lovely presentation by Connect One, who is working with us to design our new Southside Park. They explained the process for eliciting community input, and then the process that they used for coming up with the original two plans that they started with, and then how they were able to take input from the public and from staff and distill that into a single plan. Tomorrow night from 2 until 6 o'clock will be the last opportunity for public input, so anybody who's interested may want to be there. It'll be at the Evangel Gym because of inclement weather, they decided to hold it there. And we had a discussion on the possibility of loaning out certain city equipment, possibly to a nonprofit group. So staff is going to look at that and see what they can do to come up with some kind of a policy. League of Women Voters is going to have a Meet the Candidates night for state representatives and state senators from this district. And so if you have not had a chance to read up on these folks, you may want to come. They'll be accepting written questions from the audience, and it starts at 6:30 here in council chambers. It will be live streamed.
What day is that?
6:30 this Thursday. I believe that's the 11th. Is there anything else for the good of the city?
Just one more little thing.
Yes.
If you are not busy on Saturday night and feel like traveling to Durango, there's going to be a Roast of Durango comedy presentation. Sweetie Marbury will be subject of some of the jokes.
Ooh.
And it is $15. It is a 21 and up show, but it's at the Streeter Theater. Saturday night.
All right. Okay, anything else?
I have one thing.
Yes.
Fire station is going to have an open house on Thursday, the 11th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Friday?
The new one is?
Yeah.
Cool. Friday at what time?
I have Thursday at from 5 to 7 p.m. Correct?
Yeah, I have to double check.
Thursday's the 11th.
Thursday, Friday?
I'm thinking of Friday.
Well, it's Thursday or Friday.
It's
It's
Friday.
Thursday or Friday?
All right.
Wednesday.
Are they gonna grill things?
They will have snacks.
Yeah.
There'll be a water fight.
Water fight?
Yeah. Okay. Now, is there anything else for the good of that? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
You're probably going back for sure tomorrow.